Welcome in. Today, we're going to break down a major US-China trade agreement, but, we're not just going to stop at the deal itself. We're going a little deeper to really deconstruct how the story of the agreement is being told. Because let's be real, when it comes to the global economy, the narrative that's built for everyone can be just as powerful as the actual numbers.
So let's start with a big question. How in the world do you take something as complex and, frankly, dry as international tariffs and turn it into a story that grabs you immediately? Well, in this case, it all kicks off with the perfect narrative hook, one that's designed to get your attention right away.
And there it is. That sentence right there is the perfect hook. It's not just a dry fact, is it? It's a whole story packed into a few words. You've immediately got a villain, this potentially ruinous 157% tariff, and you've got a hero, the framework agreement that swooped in to save the day. It's super dramatic, it's clear, and it's made for maximum impact.
Every great story needs some high stakes, and the story being told here is absolutely no exception. The whole narrative is basically built around this one single massive threat that was, apparently, just narrowly avoided.
Just look at the power of this one number, 157%. It's so specific, it's huge, and it just sounds catastrophic, doesn't it? You don't need a PhD in economics to get that 157% tariff would be completely devastating. It's a really brilliant way to communicate the sheer scale of the crisis in a split second.
So the crucial point of this whole opening narrative is de-escalation. First, that 157% monster gets slain. And then, just for good measure, we're told another 100% tariff threat is gone too. The message couldn't be clearer. We were right on the edge of a cliff, but don't worry, the negotiators pulled us back.
Okay, so let's get past that really powerful opening hook and see what's actually inside this framework that saved the day. This is where we get into the real substance behind the story.
This table really lays out the classic give and take of any negotiation. If you look on the left, the US got some real tangible things, more soybean purchases, a deal on TikTok. But look at the right side. This is the big one. China gets what it wants most. Those absolutely crippling tariffs are off the table. It's a really carefully balanced compromise.
And if you look closer, you can see this agreement is incredibly broad. It touches on agriculture, which is a huge sigh of relief for American farmers. It deals with technology, with this supposed final deal on TikTok. It even gets into critical minerals and a major public health crisis with fentanyl. So yeah, this isn't some single issue fix. It's a real attempt to smooth things over on a whole bunch of different fronts.
But this is where we kind of have to become story detectives. If we look past the big, optimistic headlines and really pay attention to the specific words officials on both sides are using, a much more nuanced and, more cautious picture starts to come into focus.
Just look at the language here. The US is calling it a substantial framework. That sounds pretty solid, right? Almost done. But China, they describe it as a preliminary consensus. That wording is so much more tentative. Preliminary basically screams, hey, this is just the beginning. This little difference in how they frame it is actually incredibly revealing.
And this quote from China's top negotiator, it just reinforces that cautious tone. He's not out there celebrating a huge victory. He's talking about the recent shocks and fluctuations, which is basically diplomat speak for a really tense and difficult time. It's the language of relief, not resolution.
The truth is, this framework is really just a starting gun for a much, much longer race. All the details have to be finalized, both governments have to get it approved back home, and all this just sets the stage for a potential meeting between the leaders. So yeah, this is the start of a process, not the end of one.
So, after deconstructing the deal and the story being told about it, what's the big takeaway here? Well, it all boils down to understanding the massive difference between the narrative and the reality. We started with that incredibly effective news hook, right? A simple, powerful story of conflict and resolution. This ruinous tariff gets averted by a substantial deal. It's perfectly designed for maximum immediate impact. But the actual substance that we uncovered is way more complex. It's not a final deal, it's a preliminary framework. The language being used is cautious, and there are still so many hurdles to clear. The reality is conditional, it's nuanced, and it's a lot less certain than that initial story wants you to believe.
And all of this leaves us with a really fascinating final question.
In a world of instant market reactions and 24/7 news cycles, which is actually more powerful? The complex substance of a deal that's going to take months to finalize, or the simple, compelling story that gets told about it in the first few hours? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me.